To nearly everyone, the moon appears to be a sterile, gray, unchanging world. But while the moon has remained largely unchanged during human history, our own understanding of it has evolved dramatically. Thanks to new observations, we now have not only unprecedented views of its surface, but a whole new tour of the moon that shows how both it and other rocky planets in our solar system have been shaped over billions of years. We'll start with one of the largest impacts, Oriental Basin, a feature that's as wide as the distance from New York City to Cincinnati. Using new elevation measurements, we can clearly see the effects of what is likely the last giant impact event in lunar history, with its outer mountain rings rising many kilometers above the lowest points inside the crater. The interiors of some craters in the moon's polar regions, like Shackleton, haven't seen sunlight in over 2 billion years. However, new measurements have created our best yet maps of these types of craters, allowing us to see deep into the shadows of this surprisingly young-looking impact crater in the south that's more than twice as deep as the Grand Canyon. Some impacts are invisible for other reasons. Although the ancient South Pole Aitken Basin is difficult to see from orbit because it is so large, new LRO topography maps reveal the largest impact basin in the Earth-Moon system, measuring several kilometers in depth and around 2,500 kilometers in diameter. Only the Hellas Basin on Mars rivals it in size. One of the youngest large-scale impacts on the Moon is the Tycho crater. This fresh crater may have formed only 108 million years ago, when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. We now also have an extreme close-up view of the crater's central peak, revealing a mountain with sharp edges, building-sized rocks, and a central boulder about the size of a baseball stadium. The Aristarchus Plateau is another recent lunar formation that has long interested scientists and astronomers. The crater itself formed in the same era as the Tycho crater, and what appear to be snaking river valleys were actually carved by ancient lava flows. Next, we arrive at Mare Serenitatis on the near side of the Moon. In December of 1972, the crew of Apollo 17 landed in the Taurus Littrow Valley, marking the last time humans have visited the surface of the Moon. With images from LRO's narrow-angle camera, we can clearly see the evidence of that visit. In this image, you can easily see the base of the lunar lander, along with the lunar rover, parked far from the blastoff zone. You can also clearly see the astronaut trails and the wheel tracks left on the lunar surface.
Was it one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind? Or one of the most enduring conspiracy theories of all time? We have the facts. Ever since mankind took its first steps on the Moon, photos and videos from the mission have been picked apart, inspected, and dissected. But about 400,000 people worked on the Apollo program, and that's a lot of mouths to keep shut about such a sensational secret. In the 1960s, the space race was serious business, and America was desperate to beat the Soviets to the Moon and plant a flag there. But did the government want it so badly that they faked the whole mission in order to ensure success? Some people think so. Conspiracy theories took off in the early 1970s, just a few years after Neil Armstrong set foot on the Moon. This was the era of the Pentagon Papers and the Watergate scandal that rocked the United States. Some people were already distrustful of the government. The conspiracy theorists said the Apollo 11 moon landing was shot on a secret film set in the Hollywood Hills, or a remote military base. The non-believers also say, take a look at the lighting in this photo. It's not real because the sun must be the only source of light in the image. But yet we can clearly see the lunar lander and the Apollo astronaut even in the shadow areas, meaning Hollywood lighting must have filled in the darkness. But NASA says the light gray lunar soil and white spacesuit created more than enough reflections to fill in the shadows. Lunar landing deniers point to this photo and ask, where are the stars? We're clearly not in space. But this picture is exposed for the brightly lit astronaut and lander, meaning it's not exposing for the dimly lit stars in the background. It's the same thing that happens in your nighttime photographs where your friends are exposed properly, but the background stays dark. And what about the flag? How is it waving in outer space if there's no wind? Well, NASA engineers knew a regular flag would hang lifeless. Not so good for patriotic imagery. So they engineered a flag to look like it was moving in a breeze. And for most of us, this far out flag has never looked better.